we have a pressure to do it as observers, not participants.
Right.
And because of that, you're always treading that line between giving everybody there a warm and gracious show and welcome and make them feel good, and shitting on them.
Did you hate hosting the Oscars?
No, I'll tell you, I've hosted 3 times. I said, I'll host under this condition. 1, if I'm the first thing out there.
Right.
Because those moments are so valuable. That's when the audience is hot and ripe and comedy is right. You don't want to follow a big dance number and then go out and win and all that.
You want to go out and do your monologue.
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
Right.
And I said, and no interviews. Because I didn't want them to ask me, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I just didn't want to think about it. I just want to concentrate on what I was going to do. So the first time I was in a state of cold fear.
Really?
Yes. And then the curtain goes up, and you're fine because you've done it a million times.
What is the fear that you're going to flop? And
it's not that. It's just it's what do you call it? It's excitement. It's nerves. It's nerves.
Because there's millions of people watching that thing.
Yeah. But you don't think about that. I always work to the crowd in that room, which I love the crowd.
Do you? Don't you think
I
that
found
crowd
them very ripe for comedy.
But it's a crowd that wants to be rewarded and praised. They're actors, and it's their big night.
I think you're overstating it. Everybody's a person in there. They're, of course they're nervous, but they're watching, a comedian do comedy, and they're fine. I like the audience.
And then you walked out and you felt in command.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then the second time, I thought, okay. And by the way, it was the night the Iraq invasion started.
Oh boy, yeah.
And
were you thinking, how can I make jokes if we've just invaded Iraq?
Yes, but I had some experience. I was working at the Birdcage Theater.
Yeah.
1963, and Kennedy was shot. And so I'm going to work and think, well, they can't possibly be doing a show. And we got there and said, the show's going to go on. And I thought, this is going to be awful. And we went out, and the audience was really hot for some reason. And I thought, it must be true about some kind of escape. So I had this understanding from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that of an audience's reaction in times of stress. And so I decided to acknowledge what was going on and then just go ahead. And it was successful.
So you're saying right at the top, you said, look, I'm aware that there's, an invasion. We all are thinking
I said there was all this thing about they were going to cut down on the glitz, and so that was my opening line, because looking around, it looks like,
you really respected that.
Yeah. I said, well, we really cut down on the glitz, and then just went on.
Is life unbelievable for you now?
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, right? Better than you ever could have expected.
I tell you, man, I walked on as host of the Oscars, and I was like, I have no idea how this happened, but I'm going to enjoy it. I have no idea.
And you don't get nervous before the Oscars?
I got, 6 weeks before is when I got most nervous.
Doesn't seem like you're real nervous up there.
No, when I went out on stage, I was like, the most nervous I ever got was about 10 years ago, when I had to sing the national anthem in front of 100,000 people. And I was not a singer, right? I lucked into a job in a musical, and I was freaking out. I actually had a panic attack the night before.
Wow.
That's the only time, and I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. People have been booed off doing that particular gig, right? Mm-hmm. And when I got through that, I was sort of like, everything else from that moment's been okay.
I would think when you go out there in front of the Academy Awards and all that, and it's all the people you act with and all the people, all the directors, producers, everything, I would shit my pants.
Yeah, but it's the opposite. You're out there and you're looking. First of all, they know the cameras are on them, so they're like this.
They're not even looking at you.
No. And the other thing is, there's an element, because I'm not a comedian, and they're looking at me like, oh man, there, but for the grace of God go I. What if I was up there? And they're like, you can see that. Good luck, man. We want it to go well. You poor bastard. Good luck.
You've said after the last Oscars, you are never hosting the Oscars again.
I wouldn't say that I wouldn't host it again. I was incredibly honored to have been asked to host it. And I knew going into it that it was going to be super difficult in almost every way.
Right.
But I would never then say that I wouldn't be honored to host it again.
But
it's a weird thing to say, because if you say that, it sounds like you're trying to get to host the Oscars again. But it's not like I'm out, I'm done, it was horrible. There were a lot of parts of it that were really horrible, but I think the nature of that show is that there's so much expectation to just simply watch it. And I think most people, and why would they, have no appreciation of just how much goes into every single thing. Like, you could ask me a singular thing about any part of that 4-hour telecast, and I could tell you a 20-minute story about what the joke was, why it wasn't that, what our choices were, why did this person fell out, and so we had to quickly get someone to go into it, and this person, like it's crazy.
It's a thankless job for the host, because I've said this before. You've got to do the balancing act where you're sort of being nice to everyone, but yet you got to be edgy enough for the audience. And then if you try anything out of the ordinary, you can get slammed for it. When you came out in your tidy whities and did the Birdman thing, everyone said, the critics, he's trying to show off his muscular body or something.
Yeah, it wasn't that at all.
Did you take that as like, fuck you? I mean, do you get pissed?
No, I'm not a fuck you kind of person.
You don't read reviews?
I read everything.
You read everything?
Pretty much everything,
And you don't get affected by it?
No, not really. Sometimes people will say individual things that seem like weird low blows. But no.
How do you not get affected by that shit?
You know why?
I
Because
almost don't believe you.
Seriously, I would be more paranoid if I didn't read the stuff, and I would be more paranoid that they were saying worse things about me. As long as I'm processing the information, then the onus is on me to figure out how to deal with it.
The fascinating thing, too, I always want to talk to you about, you've hosted the Oscars, you've hosted the Emmys, and you've hosted the Grammys, like the Grand Slam of all time. Is that fun for you? Would you continue to do, like, if they said to you host the Oscars, would you do that?
No.
It's not fun, right? It's thankless.
No. They asked me to do it again this last year, and I was like,
no way. Why? Because it takes up a lot of time, or
it does take, especially doing the show at the same time, because I have to start writing, early on. I have to be ready for that, and then you don't know which movies are going to be nominated, so you don't know how strong the jokes are going to be because it depends on the movies that are nominated.
And then the pressure again. People evaluate you based on the ratings.
Your last performance.
But also it's the ratings, and the ratings sometimes are determined by which movies come out, because people have to be interested in the actors, right? And you get pinned if the thing is not. You get pinned with a failure.
Yeah.
It's too much to risk,
but
right?
I did have fun. The last time I hosted, I had a lot of fun.
You broke the internet in a sense. You decided to take a selfie,
yes.
right? And were you shocked by that response? People went on to see this selfie, and it actually crashed the web, so to speak.
I hoped that it would do that. I actually thought that might happen. But the joke was going to be, I said, Meryl, you've broken the record for the amount of Oscars that you've won. Let's try to break the record for the retweet of selfies. And so it was going to be, I said, so Meryl was in it, and then I was going to call as many people that would come in. And the whole joke for me was I was planning on asking Meryl to get out to take it so that she wasn't even in the picture.
Right.
And I kept, if you watch the tape piece, I kept saying, Meryl, I can't reach Meryl. And Bradley Cooper kept saying, I'll take it. And I was like, no. And I was trying to get Meryl out of the seat. The whole joke was that she wouldn't even be in the retweet break. Bradley took the picture, and it became what it was.
Isn't that a crazy amount of pressure, too? Because you're on live television, probably the biggest audience, it's like the Super Bowl, it's huge.
Right.
And now you've kind of visualized in your head this great bit. I'm going to do a selfie, I'm going to go over to Meryl Streep, I'm going to ask her, blah, 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 blah. And the thing can tank horribly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it could seem like the longest 2 minutes ever.
I don't know. I never think that way. I just thought this is going to be fun, and I knew fun people were near there, so I thought some people would. I didn't think Brad Pitt and Angie would jump in.
Right.
I thought maybe Brad would, but Angie's really shy, and thought it would be fun. And I thought the pizza thing could tank. I was worried about the pizza thing.
Right. The guy delivering pizzas.
Everybody loved that, and then this amazing pizza guy that we found this amazing story of, like, the American dream.
Right.
Now he has his own pizza parlor because of this whole thing. I mean, it was,
maybe that's why you would never host the Oscars again, because you can't top that. In a sense, you go, wait, I did it.
Yeah.
You had this tremendous success.
Yeah.
Maybe you say that's it. You throw down your bat and you get out of the game.
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
I do.
You do, right?
Yeah. And I do, and I did.
So that kind of thing goes through your mind.
Yeah. And listen, the reason I did it this last time is because, as you know, when you do something that is natural to you, it's not a challenge anymore. It's still fun, and there's highs and lows every single day. There are better days than others, and I wanted to challenge myself.